Interesting how the next story comes from the city of brotherly love and deals with the use of Adolf Hitler's face and historical context being used to slap down at Islamic countries, calling them nothing but Jew haters. And it's there in black and white for everyone to see on the side of city buses. Our guest is attorney for the American Freedom Law Center, and he represents the American Freedom Defense Initiative in their fight to keep their ad on the side of Philadelphia buses. Let's welcome Robert Muise to MidPoint. Robert, thanks so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Robert, it was an interesting ad indeed, saying Islamic Jew hatred, it's in the Quran. 2/3 of all U.S. aid goes to Islamic countries, and stop the hate. We're seeing it now. Would you not agree, though, that just if we're to look at this, and not as an attorney, not as just two people, this does seem rather inflammatory, does it not?
Well, the speech is provocative. I would give you that, but that doesn't diminish its protection under the First Amendment. In fact, it assures its protection under the First Amendment. As the Supreme Court has said time and again, public speech on public issues, which this is, rests on the highest rung of the hierarchy of First Amendment values and is entitled to special protection. So as a matter of First Amendment principles, and even stepping outside of my role as an attorney, but as an American citizen who cherishes the First Amendment, whenever you have a case that upholds the right to free speech, as this case did, it's a victory for all freedom-loving Americans. And so it's, one of the things that separates our civilized society from many others that we're watching on the television across the world is the First Amendment. If there's speech that you disagree with, the response to that is more speech. It's not engaging in violence, nor is it government censorship. And so, we had a federal judge last week rule in our favor and order the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, or SEPTA, to display these ads. And that was, again, that's a victory not just for my clients, but from all freedom-loving Americans.
According to the judge, again, Judge Mitchell S. Goldberg, it is clear that the anti-disparagement standard promulgated by SEPTA, those are the folks who run the mass transit in Philadelphia, was a principled attempt to limit hurtful, disparaging advertisements. While certainly laudable, such aspirations do not, unfortunately, cure First Amendment violations. All well and good, but how do we then get to the difference between free speech and hate speech?
Well, the first and foremost is there's no such thing as hate speech under the First Amendment, and it's certainly not the role of the government to decide what is and what is not. Certainly many will claim that, the biblical teaching on homosexuality and, what the gospel claims, if you put that on the side of the bus, that would be hate speech. Again, it's not the government's position to decide what might be and what might not be disparaging. There's certainly a lot of advertisements out there. I'm a Christian, and I see so many of these advertisements that are pornographic. But yet they run those advertisements, and so it's a dangerous task if we're going to give the government the authority to decide what might or might not be particularly disparaging to an audience. And the First Amendment strictly prohibits that, and for very good reason. In particular, speech that might be on the margins is the speech that requires the most protection. Because if you're not protecting the speech on the margins, you know what happens? Those margins slowly close in, and we lose freedoms as a result. So this was a very good decision. And the judge said, you quoted one part of his opinion, but he made it very clear that he was compelled to rule the way that he did based on the First Amendment, which is very refreshing to see a judge ruling based on the law, not on his own personal predilections or tastes for the particular speech in question. So the First Amendment did compel this result, and it's a very good result.
I got about a minute left here. SEPTA rejected the ad originally, saying that it disparaged any person or group on the basis of race, religious belief, age, sex, alienage, national origin, sickness, or disability. So basically, under this ruling, you throw all that out, correct? Now you could basically put anything up on a billboard.
No, well, that's a content-based and a viewpoint-based restriction, so it's unconstitutional. But the government, if they want to close this forum to all advertisements, they certainly can. That's within their particular authority. But the fact that they open it up for public issue speech, they can't pick and choose which content and which viewpoint can be expressed, and that's where they ran afoul of the First Amendment.
What has been the reaction to this? I mean, as far as your own, but you work with the group here, but what's been the reaction back against this ad, or for or positive?
Well, it's positive for those who understand the importance of the First Amendment. This isn't the first lawsuit. We have 6 other lawsuits going on, and we've won lawsuits against Washington, against New York, and against San Francisco displayed the ads. These types of ads, not just this one, but one similar to it, our clients have displayed in major transportation authorities across the country. And those who refuse to run them, we sue, and we typically win, as we should.
Has there been any hate response back to this ad?
Well, people always respond to my client negatively. Those, they want to claim Islamophobic and everything else. But that comes with the territory when you're somebody who's out there who wants to challenge the political correct notion of what's going on around the world, and that's what she certainly does. And there's many people who are quite frankly bigoted against her and the fact that she's Jewish and they promote Jerusalem.
And we'll have to leave it right there
ads.
because we're all out of time. Robert Muise,
Great.
thanks so much for bringing us up to speed on this. Coming up next on MidPoint, Chicago politics.